We're here at the beginning of turn number 8. It is 10:30 a.m. We have a line of sight of 4 now. This is still a morning turn, which means that there's still fog, which can obscure indirect and direct fire attacks. The Soviets are going to get 3 reinforcements, and these are the reinforcements that they're going to use to hopefully dislodge the Finns from that hotel. They're going to get the 1st and 2nd of the 354th 122 millimeter artillery pieces, and the 3rd of the 354th, which is a 152 millimeter artillery piece. I placed all 3 of them off map on the side of the board there. Those are their big, devastating artillery pieces. I don't think I'm going to use them on this turn because in turn number 9 the fog clears and there won't be that negative modifier to their die roll for an indirect fire attack. And the big guns, whenever you fire them, you have to roll a 6-sided die and they're out of commission for that many turns. So if I were to use them now in a turn where there's a penalty to use them of -1 because of the fog, and I roll a 5 or a 6, that's it. They're gone for the remainder of this game because the scenario is only running to turn 12. So I want to get the best and most successful impact out of using them. So I'm going to wait one more turn to use them. But we could use some of these artillery pieces. They're 76 millimeter guns because the Soviets will gain more ammunition this turn. The Soviets will gain 10 more ammunition. So now they're at 17 total. And even if they fired all 3 of their artillery guns every turn for the remainder of this scenario, that would only use up 15 ammo. So they might as well use them and see if they can get some good results out of it. Now we have to decide what we are going to do, what tactics we're going to use. We're starting to move on to the village here. We have these units ready to attack at the hotel. I don't know if I want to use them in any way, maybe as a preemptive strike prior to the one we're going to do the next turn. We do have, looks like 1, 2, 3 reduced units that need to attempt recovery, and they're all far enough away right now to get that +1 bonus for being 4 or more away. So the reduced units we're definitely going to attempt to recover. We'll do that at the end though. Now I have my machine gun here that has a range of 3, so it has line of sight on these positions, but they're dug in, and direct fire attacks are at -2 against dug in positions. So it may be better just to move the machine gun into position with some of these units. What do we have here? We have 2 dug in infantry companies. I'm thinking maybe move to get that concentric attack bonus, bring this machine gun over, and then we can attack with all of these units and the artillery, try and knock that dug in position out. Since there's 2 infantry units there, that's better for the indirect fire. I could also move these units here around and into position to help with the hotel, because if we go along the road here, that's only 1, onto the ice for 1.5 more at 2.5, and then this has a building, so it's a village hex, so it'd only be 1 to enter there. So it would only take 3.5 movement from this hex to get here, which means the machine gun and the infantry unit under it could move into position to help. And that seemed the smart thing to do to me. We'll go ahead and get ready and we'll move these units into position. So we have our machine gun that can move 4. That would be 1/2 and 1, 1.5 more for 2.5, and then 1 for 3.5. We'll follow the same route with this infantry company. They can move 5, so they have plenty to get there. Can I get this machine gun? If I back up, that would be 1/2, 1.5, 3, 1 more for 4, so they can make it there also. They're going to need all the help they can get, so let's go ahead and do that. Do we have any more infantry here? No, that's infantry guns and a mortar. And then there's a mortar right below that. We do have a healthy infantry unit there that can move 5. That would be 1, 2 and a half, 3 and a half, 4, 5. So they could get there also. Or do I want them to start going this direction to help? Well, they can get here and help right away. They can't make it all the way over here and help right away. So we'll move 1, 2 and a half, 1 and a half more to 4, and then 1 more to 5. Really get as much firepower as we can here. And maybe even in the next turn before we go, we can take these dug in units and shift them all onto the ice. It gives us a concentric attack bonus. Actually, we can just move one of them. We can move one unit onto the ice, and that'll give us the concentric attack bonus, and it will not cause us to diminish our entire stack. Our mortar can hit all these targets here. There's no need to move any of them. They're in position for the attack on the hotel. The artillery can help with the village. We do have this machine gun here, which I will move. So that would be 1 and a half, and then another 1 and a half for 3. So they're in position to help with the coming attack. We have these two that have 5. It would cost them 1 just to move because they're in an enemy zone of control, plus the forest, which is 2 to 3, so that's not a problem. We can move into position there to get that concentric attack bonus on this dug in position here. And these units can only move 3, and they are direct fire weapons that can fire at a range of 3, which won't help very much against those dug in positions since they only have a strength of 1. But we'll get them onto the island. So right there, that would cost them 2. And then they're already on the road, so they can use the road bonus now. 2 and a half, and then 3. We'll get them up there also. Let's get these units onto the island. 2 to get on, and then 2 and a half, 3. Before I conduct any attacks, I'll go ahead and attempt the recovery of these 3 reduced units, starting here on the left with my first roll, my second roll here, final roll there. All 3 of the units attempting recovery are still in supply, so they're not going to lose any there for their recovery, and they'll gain the +1 because they're more than 4 away. So a 5 or a 6. That first one recovers. Second one does not. Third one does. First unit was able to recover. The second one was not. And the third one did. And this unit, almost forgot and left him out there, actually was here. I just moved it out of the way in order to move that healthy unit that was under it. Do I want to attempt this attack here? Let me check and run the numbers real quick to see if it's beneficial or not. Again, we can use the artillery on them, so that'll help. With just the numbers here and the fact that these are going to be halved because they're coming from the frozen lake, we're looking at a 22 to 10 initial ratio. So that'll put us on the 2 to 1 table to start, which is not bad. We got the concentric attack bonus, so it'll put us to 3 to 1. They're dug in, that's going to bump us back to 2 to 1. If we can effectively use our artillery, we can maybe gain a column shift or 2, maybe incorporate some mortar. Well, maybe not mortar. Mortars are too far away. Yes, they're too far away. But the infantry guns are not. We can use them to help lay down some indirect fire also. I'll go ahead and do the attack. So I have to declare that I'm attacking this hex, and all the units surrounding it and all these stacks are the ones that are attacking that hex. Offensive support, I'm going to use all 3 of my artillery pieces to fire on that location, and both of my infantry guns also to fire on that location. Do I have any defensive support that I want to declare? I do have my mortar right there on the Heva Salami bridge, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is within range, and they have 3 infantry companies here on a frozen lake. So I'll declare defensive support, use this mortar to fire on that hex. Do I want to use any of my artillery? I only have 4 ammo, and I'm not going to get any more for the Finns. I only have 2 artillery pieces, so I will go ahead and use both of them also and fire on that same location. That'll still leave me 2 ammo for a future use of defensive support. Plus I'm getting 2 more mortars this turn as far as reinforcements. These weapons are within range that can provide support also, but I chose not to use them because they can't really do much. If we put in all the modifiers, there are 2 infantry companies there, so that's +2. They're dug in against direct fire, that's -2, so we're back at a 0. We do have morning fog, so we're at a -1. All they have is a strength of 1. So even if I rolled a 12, that's going to be, we'll add their 1 on to 13, take the 1 off to take it back down to 12. I need at least a 14 to cause a suppression, so there's no need to even incorporate them into this battle. So we need to resolve the support first, and first we'll do the phasing player, which is the Soviets. So they have their 3 artillery pieces and 2 infantry guns firing on our hex here. And as a reminder, we have 2 infantry there and we are dug in. We will start with the infantry guns, and we need to look at our modifiers. There are 2 infantry companies there, so that's going to give a +2 to the Soviets. They are dug in against direct fire, so that will take 1 off, or against indirect fire, so they're down to a +1. And this is dawn. I'm sorry, not dawn. And this is morning. So we're going to lose 1 because of the fog. So we're at an even ratio. If they roll a 12, that will get them to 15 because they have a strength of 3. They can't do any step reductions, but they can add some suppressions on for column shifts, so that's nice. So our first infantry gun fires, and we'll add its strength of 3 and do nothing. And the second one fires. 6 + 3 is 9. Nothing effective from the infantry guns. Now we have our artillery pieces, who are going to have the same modifiers. +2 for the infantry companies, -1 for the fog, -1 for dug in, so they're at an even ratio also. But they have a strength of 5, so a little more chance of some kind of success here. So they'll add their 5 on to a 7. That's only 12, no good. Second one fires. An 8 + 5 is 13, still not enough. We need at least a 9. And again, unsuccessful. This is not working out for the Soviets. I reduced the Soviet ammunition by 3, so they're at 14 now. And that is all of their support, and they gained nothing. Now we'll use our 2 artillery pieces and mortar of the Finns for defensive support. Starting with the artillery pieces, and I reduced their ammunition from 4 down to 2. And they're firing on that frozen lake hex with 3 infantry companies. The 3 infantry companies will gain them a +3. It is a frozen lake, and it's against the Soviets, so that's going to be a +2 for a 5. The fog will take us down to a 4. So they're going to be firing with a modifier of 4, and they have a strength of 2. That is 8 + 4 is 12, +2 is 14. That is enough for the Finns to gain a suppression on that hex. We have the same modifiers for the second artillery battery. A 7 and a 4 is 11, 12, 13, just short of another suppression. And now we have our mortar, who will also have the bonus of 4, but they have a strength of 4. Ooh, that is unbelievable. 12 plus 4, 16 plus their 4, 18. They will gain another suppression, and 18 causes a step reduction. And I believe I added that incorrectly. That was 12 plus 4 is 16. Plus the 4 from the mortar is 20. So they do gain that suppression, but they're going to get 2 step reductions from that mortar fire. An outstanding defensive support attack by the Finns. That Finnish mortar really did some damage. Got to take 2 step reductions here. The Soviets are going to choose to take 2 like that instead of just wiping out one whole unit. But they're going to get tagged with 2 suppressions. That's going to really hurt their attack here. This may come back to haunt the Soviets. And we have our combat ratio. Again, there is 10 there, 9 there. Under here we have, and this is going to change everything too. So we got 5, 8, 11 now instead of what we had before. So we have 11 and 9 for 20. That is halved down to 10 plus the 10 for 20, attacking a 10. So lucky for the Soviets, they still are on the 2 to 1, just on the 2 to 1 column. And now we add all of our other modifiers. 2 suppressions from the Finns are going to drastically change the complexion of this battle. So we go from a 2 to 1 to a 1 to 1 to a 1 to 2. They do have the concentric attack bonus, so that 1 to 2 will go to a 1 to 1, but they are dug in here, so we're going back to a 1 to 2, and that is where we're going to stay. So this is going to go very poorly for the Soviets unless they roll really high. This has the potential to really hurt the Soviets. They're rolling on the 1 to 2, and they rolled an 8, which is kind of the middle of the road. Definitely not as bad as things could have been. That is a 1 to 0 loss. So the Soviets will take 1 loss, and the first one must be a step reduction. I think I'll take the step reduction on this unit here. That way, what I'm going to do in the next turn is take this whole stack and get them out of here so they can go somewhere to recover at a distance of 4 or more. I'm definitely going to leave the hotel alone this round. Save all of these units for the next round to do the attack in conjunction with all of their indirect fire support, including all of their artillery. Really lay it on. See if we can do some damage to that hotel. I put a couple of Soviet flag markers here just to remind me that these areas were last controlled by the Soviets. And I think that's all we're going to do with them. I don't want to risk anything else, any more losses. They took 3 step losses here. That was bad enough. That attack went extremely poor. We'll go ahead and end it there for the Soviets and move into the second half of this turn where the Finns will now go. The Finns will not gain any ammunition, but they will gain 3 reinforcements. We have 2 mortar units coming in, mortar units from the JR-16, And we have our first engineer unit, the engineers from the JR-16. Those units are staged at the support hex ready to come on. We have all these units up here that are reduced, all four. Well, nope, that one's not reduced. We have 3 reduced units that need to make a recovery attempt, and they're 4 or more away. Definitely want to bring these mortar units on and get them in range. Maybe I'll come get them in range and just lay some more fire down on these already wounded Soviet units. Or maybe it would be smarter to come over here and fire at some of the units that may possibly be attacking the hotel, maybe to cause them some step losses. We know that we have 3 infantry companies here. Up here I think we only have 2, if I remember right. Yes, we have 2 infantry companies and 2 machine guns, so we'd only get a +2 there. And they're on land, and these units are on a frozen lake, so maybe we should just be real decisive and go after them while they're still stranded out there on the lake. The mortars can only move 3 though. 3 would get me to here. If I used extended movement, I could go up to 5 as long as I was 4 or more away. So I could get to right here, and that gets me within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's just enough to where I could attack them. Or do I save it for defensive support against the coming attack on the hotel? That's a tough decision. If I use them here, I might be able to knock a couple of their units out. They don't have reinforcement points available. That's victory points for me later on. Or do I defend the hotel? Not exactly sure which route I want to take. Yeah, that mortar is also 6 away. Let's do it. Let's go after these units to try and gain some victory points for later. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4.5 with extended movement. That's as close as they can get. That's still within the range of 6. We'll put both mortar units right there. And our engineers can move 6 also. Our engineer unit is a platoon. They only have a strength of 2, but they can move 6. And they can dig in a single turn as long as they're stacked with another friendly unit. And they can even do so when they're in an enemy zone of control. So maybe I should get them down here, stacked with this unit. They can move 6, so 3, 4, 5, 6. I can make it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's with regular movement, not extended. So that worked out good. So we can dig in the next turn, even with the enemy sitting right there. Is there anybody else I want to move before we start here? I believe we have our machine guns in place here. Yeah, there's 2 of them, and they can do support to either side of the hotel because they have those open frozen lake hexes right there, so that's really good. I do want to attempt recovery for all of these wounded units here. I do have the 1 recovered infantry unit. Where do I want to move it to? Maybe I'll move it here also, just to provide a little more support so they don't decide to attack. Because we have 2 infantry units there and here. Just the 1 there. I think we're already covered at the hotel. So let's move 1, 2.5 just to shore up the defenses there. Keep them from getting any crazy ideas. And I believe that is all. I'll take a quick look at the hotel again and make sure I'm set up the way I want to be before we start doing our recovery and indirect fire attacks on this hex here. So I will go ahead and recover or make recovery attempts. The first roll will be for this top unit. Second one will be for the first one on the stack. Third one will be for the bottom one on the stack. And then we'll do our indirect fire attacks. These 2 mortars are going to lob rounds in their direction and see if we can cause some more losses. First up, we'll do our recovery attempts. They are 4 or more away. Nothing to worry about there. So they'll get their +1, so 5 or a 6. First one, no. Second one, which is the top of that stack, no. Bottom one, no. Wow, real bad results for the fins there. But now we'll do our attack with those 2 mortar units. Our indirect fire, we need our ranged attack modifiers. There are 3 infantry companies there. The target hex is a frozen lake with Soviets on it, so that's +2 to 5. We still have fog, so that's going to take us down to a 4. The Finnish mortars attack at a 4, so we're going to add their 4 and this 4, so 8 onto whatever we roll. The first one is going to get a 12, that is nothing, and the second one, a 10, very, very good, +4 and 4 for 18, that is a suppression and a step reduction. The Finnish mortars are really doing good during this battle, and there are 3 reduced companies there. Their only choice is to take another step reduction, and that will add another to the dead pool. It's the dead pool that's eligible for reconstitution, but they're not going to get any points before the end of this scenario. And I think that is it. I think we're ready to move into turn number 9, when the Soviets are going to all out assault this hotel. With only 4 turns remaining, do a quick overview. We can see that the Soviets have all of their artillery. These will be available also. So they're going to really assault that hotel. They have 3 units or 3 stacks of units ready to assault. Probably going to move one of those, just 1 unit onto the frozen lake. That way we have our concentric attack bonus. They will have their mortar and infantry guns available to also attack. So they're going to have about 10 pieces of indirect fire that they can just continually bombard that hotel in the hopes to get some more column shifts. We have 2 infantry companies, 3 machine gun companies, and PRE there at the hotel to help defend it, and they are dug in. They do have the support of some machine gun units here that can provide indirect fire. They do have a mortar here that they will use to help. They're doing pretty good, the Finns that is, at shoring up the defenses here on the village of Tolviarvi. They lost Katasari Island and the Kivilsami Bridge, never had the road to the Soviet supply. Just to the north here, Visvara is worth points, and Ludokomoki is still held by the Finns. Both of them are held by the Finns, but Visvara is going to fall to the Soviets, I believe, when they get those reinforcements from the northeast. Still have units that need to recover, and we want to get these recovered because we don't want to give those victory points to the Soviets. Because again, they get double victory points for reduced units or lost units compared to the Finns. The Soviets are going to have to retreat these units to recover. I don't think they have the numbers here to attempt another assault in this dug-in area. Their main concentration is going to be try to drive them out of that hotel, and then maybe in a turn or 2 after that, move forward and take out the gravel pits to gain that large number of victory points there. But we'll see if they're able to do it, because the Soviets are now going to go first in turn number 9.